The Art of Negotiation by EMPOWERAUDIO. Part 1: The Foundations of Negotiation. Building inner power, emotional mastery, and confidence before you speak a word. Negotiation begins long before the conversation. It begins inside you. Before you ever walk into a meeting, ask for a raise, or discuss a family decision, the real negotiation starts in your own mind between fear and confidence, doubt and belief, emotion and reason. The best negotiators in the world aren't born persuasive. They're self-aware. They've learned to master their emotions, focus their energy, and see situations with calm clarity. In this part, we'll build the foundation, the mindset, self-regulation, and emotional intelligence you need to influence others authentically and effectively. Because no strategy matters if your inner state is reactive or uncertain. Power in negotiation is not about dominance. It's about presence. It's about showing up so grounded that other people can sense your steadiness before you say a single word. Chapter 1: The Inner Game of Influence. Every conversation is an exchange of energy. When your energy is calm and confident, you guide others toward equilibrium. When it's frantic or defensive, you escalate tension without meaning to. Think of negotiation as emotional jiu-jitsu. The goal isn't to overpower, it's to redirect energy, to use momentum rather than resistance. The first principle: control your state. The human brain is wired to detect threat. When stakes feel high, money, love, reputation, the amygdala activates, your heart rate rises, cortisol surges, your attention narrows, you start reacting instead of leading. In that state, logic disappears. Your words might sound sharp. Your tone might betray insecurity. And the other person, sensing your emotional charge, will respond defensively. This is why emotional regulation is a superpower. In a Harvard study on professional negotiators, those who could identify and label their emotions clearly, "I'm feeling pressured right now," performed 30% better in objective outcomes than those who simply tried to suppress emotion. Awareness creates choice. Suppression creates tension. Whenever you feel your pulse quicken, pause. Breathe through your nose for a count of 4, hold for 4, and exhale slowly. This rebalances your nervous system. You send a signal to your body, "I'm safe." That one pause can shift the entire outcome of a conversation. Because power is not about control over others, it's about control over yourself. Chapter 2: Self-Awareness as Strategy. To influence people, you must first understand yourself. What triggers you? What patterns run you? Some people enter negotiation needing approval, others crave control, some are terrified of conflict. Each of these subconscious drivers will sabotage outcomes unless you see them clearly. Ask yourself, when someone disagrees with me, what do I feel? When I'm challenged, do I withdraw, argue, or overexplain? Do I fear rejection or disapproval? Behind every pattern is a belief. I have to be liked. If I say no, I'll lose love. I need to prove I'm right. The work of a great negotiator is inner liberation. It's recognizing that your worth is not on the table, only the issue is. When you walk into a room knowing who you are, you don't need to win every point. You focus on creating outcomes that align with values, not ego. This mindset transforms energy. People can feel it. They sense when you're not attached to proving yourself. That calm confidence commands respect more than any title or credential ever could. Chapter 3: The Silent Language of Confidence. Negotiation isn't just verbal, it's physiological. Your body speaks before your words arrive. When you enter a room slouched, rushed, or fidgeting, you're already communicating insecurity. When you stand tall, breathe fully, and take up space with ease, you signal authority. Amy Cuddy's research at Harvard showed that 2 minutes of expansive posture, standing tall with open shoulders, can increase testosterone dominance hormone and decrease cortisol stress hormone. That's a biochemical advantage before you even open your mouth. Before any important conversation, do a body scan. Are your shoulders tense? Is your jaw clenched? Is your breath shallow? Release, expand, ground. Because the negotiation starts the moment they see you. Confidence is contagious. When you project calm, others feel calmer. When you're nervous, they mirror that too. The nervous system is social, it syncs. So before you focus on what to say, master how to be. Your energy creates the emotional field of the conversation. Chapter 4: LIFECOACHING as Power. Most people think negotiation is about talking. It's not. It's about listening. Real listening, the kind that makes people feel seen, is rare. And that's why it's powerful. In a Princeton neuroscience study, researchers found that during deep conversation, the listener's brain patterns began to synchronize with the speaker. That's connection, that's influence. Listening creates rapport faster than charm ever could. Here's the key: listen to understand, not to respond. When someone speaks, don't plan your next argument. Listen for emotion beneath words. Notice tone, pace, and pauses. When you reflect back what you hear, it sounds like you're worried about the timeline. The other person feels understood, and when people feel understood, they relax their defenses. That's when true negotiation begins. In hostage negotiations, FBI experts call this active listening. It's how they turn chaos into cooperation. You can use the same skill in business meetings, marriages, or even with children. Because influence is born from empathy, not dominance. Chapter 5: Curiosity over Control. The ego wants to convince, the wise negotiator wants to understand. When you lead with curiosity, tell me more about what matters most to you here, you gather information. You learn motives, fears, values, and needs. That data is gold. Curiosity disarms tension. It turns a battle into a shared exploration. The paradox is that the more curious you are, the more control you gain. Because the person talking feels safe, and when people feel safe, they reveal what they truly need. That's your leverage. One executive coach described curiosity as the flashlight that finds the win-win. Instead of demanding, you discover. You'll notice that great negotiators ask questions like, what would make this a success for you? What's most important for your team right now? If this didn't work, what would concern you most? Questions like these reveal motivations behind positions. And once you understand the motive, you can co-create solutions that satisfy both sides. Chapter 6: Values and Integrity. Every negotiation tests your integrity. Will you act from fear or from principle? Short-term wins built on manipulation destroy long-term trust. And trust is the real currency of influence. In psychology, this is called reciprocal altruism, the evolutionary basis of cooperation. Humans remember fairness. We gravitate toward those who act with consistency and honor. Integrity means you don't compromise your ethics for an outcome. It means you keep promises, you tell the truth even when it's inconvenient. People sense authenticity instantly. It builds a kind of moral gravity, others lean toward it. When you negotiate with integrity, you not only secure better outcomes, you attract relationships that sustain your growth for years. The most powerful statement you can make is, "This is what I can do honestly and sustainably." That clarity earns trust faster than any persuasion tactic. Chapter 7: The Calm Center. In any negotiation, there will be pressure. Someone will test your patience. Someone will challenge your limits. Your job is to stay centered. Think of yourself as the eye of the storm, still, while everything swirls around you. That calmness gives others something to anchor to. When tension rises, slow the pace, lower your tone, pause before responding. This communicates, I am not reactive. And that subtle message shifts power in your favor. In martial arts, the master wins not by striking harder but by using timing and stillness. The same applies here. Every pause buys you clarity. Every deep breath restores authority. Calm is not passivity, it's control. Chapter 8: Preparation and Strategy. Preparation is respect for yourself and the other person. A well-prepared negotiator exudes confidence because they've already thought through possibilities. Before any conversation, define your ideal outcome. Know your minimum acceptable agreement. Anticipate their needs, constraints, and emotions. Plan your questions. Visualize success calmly. This practice activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, and reduces stress before you walk in. People can feel when you've done your homework, they take you seriously. Preparation isn't rigidity, it's readiness. Chapter 9: The Energy of Respect. Respect is magnetic. When you treat people with dignity, they mirror it. In negotiation, respect is shown through tone, patience, and acknowledgement. It doesn't mean agreement, it means presence. Say things like, "I can see this matters to you. I respect the experience you bring to this." Such statements soften the room, they allow reason to return. Because every human being wants to feel valued. When respect leads, resistance fades. Chapter 10: Building Emotional Resilience. Resilience is what allows you to stay kind when others are not. To hold your boundaries without aggression. To persist without attachment. Negotiation isn't always smooth. Sometimes people lie, withdraw, or push your limits. Emotional resilience means you stay steady anyway. To build resilience, reflect daily: what drained or strengthened me today. Exercise, meditate, rest. A tired brain negotiates poorly. Remember, every no teaches you something. When you detach your identity from the outcome, you win either way because you're growing your skill, not losing your worth. Chapter 11: The Science of Persuasion. Dr. Robert Cialdini identified 6 universal principles of persuasion: reciprocity, consistency, social proof, authority, liking, and scarcity. Understanding them makes you a more conscious communicator. Reciprocity: give value first, people feel inclined to return it. Consistency: help people commit to small yeses, they align future actions with them. Social proof: people follow examples, use testimonials or precedent. Authority: speak from knowledge and confidence. Liking: we say yes to those we like, warmth and empathy matter. Scarcity: highlight uniqueness without manipulation. Use these principles ethically, not to control, but to communicate with clarity and care. Chapter 12: The Foundation of Trust. Trust is built slowly and lost quickly. Every conversation is either a deposit or withdrawal from the trust bank. To build trust, keep your word even in small things. Be transparent about motives. Admit mistakes quickly. Be consistent emotionally and ethically. When people trust you, they stop guarding themselves and start cooperating. And that is the ultimate leverage. Reflection. As we close this first part, remember, negotiation starts within. It's not a game of manipulation, it's a practice of awareness. When you understand your emotions, stay calm under pressure, and communicate with integrity, you become magnetic. People listen, doors open, agreements flow. You don't need to shout to be heard. You need to be grounded to be trusted. The next part will take you deeper into the psychology of reading others, decoding nonverbal signals, and mastering influence through empathy and perception. Because once you've built the inner foundation, the next step is understanding the minds across the table. Part 2: The Psychology of Reading People and Mastering Empathic Influence. How to understand, decode, and connect beyond words. Negotiation at its heart is an act of understanding. If Part 1 built your internal foundation, this part opens the door into the minds and hearts of others. Every person you meet carries a hidden world, memories, fears, hopes, and motives that shape every word they speak. When you learn to read that world, you gain access to the real conversation underneath the surface one. Influence isn't about speaking louder or smarter. It's about seeing more clearly. And when people feel deeply seen, they begin to trust, often faster than they realize. Let's explore how to decode people, their patterns, emotions, and unspoken messages. Because when you master empathy, you don't just win negotiations, you build relationships that last. Chapter 1: Seeing Beneath the Surface. In every conversation, there are 2 dialogues. The one being spoken and the one being felt. Words are the outer layer, emotion is the undercurrent. Most people listen to the words, great negotiators listen to the current. Imagine a manager saying, "We just don't have the budget right now." On the surface, it's a no, but if you listen deeper, you might hear, "I'm afraid to take a risk. I need to justify this decision to someone above me. I want to say yes, but I need safety first." When you respond to that emotional layer, you shift everything. Instead of arguing facts, you're addressing feelings, the true driver of behavior. One study from the Yale School of Management found that emotion, not logic, predicted 80% of decision outcomes in business negotiations. We think we're rational creatures, but we're emotional beings who rationalize. The better you understand human emotion, the more skillfully you can guide it, not by force but by alignment. So the first step is to train your perception. Ask yourself in every conversation, what is this person really communicating beneath the words? Tone, rhythm, and silence reveal more truth than sentences ever do. Chapter 2: The Mirroring Mind. Humans are wired to connect through mirroring. When you nod while listening, when you subtly match someone's tone or packing, their brain releases oxytocin, the bonding chemical. They feel safer with you even if they can't explain why. In 1992, neuroscientists in Parma, Italy, discovered mirror neurons, brain cells that fire both when we act and when we observe someone else acting. They are the biological foundation of empathy. This is why you feel tense watching someone struggle, or why a yawn spreads through a room. It's also why rapport feels magnetic. You're literally syncing nervous systems. In negotiation, use mirroring ethically. It's not imitation, it's resonance. If they're speaking softly, slow your tone. If they lean in, you might gently do the same. If they use a particular word often, like stability or growth, reflect that word back in your responses. This shows subconscious alignment. You understand me. But authenticity is key. Forced mirroring feels manipulative. Think of it as harmonizing, not mimicking. When in doubt, let empathy guide the rhythm. The goal isn't to copy, it's to connect. Chapter 3: The Body Speaks First. The human body is a truth teller. Before we decide what to say, our muscles, eyes, and breath reveal how we feel. When people cross their arms, glance down, or shift weight away from you, their body is saying, I'm guarded. When their chest opens, eyes meet yours, and their breathing slows, they're saying, I'm open. Albert Mehrabian's communication model is often misquoted, but his research still teaches something crucial. Tone and body language convey emotion far more powerfully than words. Here, what to look for. Feet direction: people's feet point toward where they want to go. If their feet angle toward the door, they're mentally leaving the conversation. Eye focus: rapid blinking, darting eyes, or a downward gaze often indicate discomfort or deception. Breath and shoulders: relaxed breathing means safety. Shallow chest breathing means tension or defensiveness. Micro-expressions: tiny flashes of real emotion, a micro-frown, raised eyebrow, or compressed lips. They last less than a second but reveal truth before logic intervenes. Watch the baseline, how someone behaves when they're relaxed, then notice deviations. That's where truth hides. Remember, reading body language isn't about labeling people, it's about listening with your eyes. And sometimes, the kindest thing you can do when you sense discomfort is to slow down and ask a gentle question. I get the feeling this part feels tricky, what's on your mind? That single question can bring honesty back to the table. Chapter 4: LISTNING 4 Values and Needs. Every argument hides an unmet need. Every demand hides a value that feels threatened. In psychology, values are emotional anchors. They define what we care about most: freedom, security, respect, love, fairness, belonging. When those are violated, people fight. If you can identify the value behind a person's position, you can resolve conflict at the root. Example: a coworker argues passionately for a strict schedule. On the surface, it's about time. Underneath, it's about predictability. Their nervous system craves order. Another person resists that same schedule. On the surface, they seem rebellious. Underneath, they value autonomy. When you understand both, you can bridge them. You might say, I hear that you need structure, and I also hear that flexibility matters. What if we agree on clear milestones but leave the process flexible? You just honored both values, and people who feel seen rarely resist. Empathic negotiation means listening not only to what someone says, but to what matters most to them when they say it. Chapter 5: The Emotional Map. To influence others, you must first locate where they are emotionally. Are they anxious, defensive, hopeful, proud? Imagine a map with 4 quadrants. Calm and open. Calm and guarded. Stressed and defensive. Stressed but seeking connection. Your job is to meet people where they are, not where you wish they were. If someone's defensive, pushing harder won't work, it just deepens resistance. Instead, diffuse tension with empathy. Say, I can see this topic feels frustrating, let's slow it down. You're signaling safety. And safety opens the door to logic. Neuroscience backs this up. When people feel threatened, the amygdala hijacks rational thought. But when they feel understood, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for reasoning, comes back online. Empathy literally restores intelligence to a conversation. So before you argue, connect. Before you persuade, understand. Because understanding transforms resistance into receptivity. Chapter 6: The Art of Calibration. Every interaction is a dance. Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow. The skill lies in calibration, adjusting your pace, tone, and intensity to match the energy in the room. When you enter a negotiation with someone fiery, direct confrontation will only ignite flames. Instead, start grounded, steady, let them vent. Once they release energy, the space opens for logic. If someone is shy or hesitant, being overly assertive will make them retreat. Soften your tone, slow your pace, invite them out gently. Great negotiators are emotional chameleons, not because they lack identity, but because they understand context. Calibration says, I see you, I respect your rhythm. One sales executive once shared, I stopped trying to sell and started trying to match energy. Deals doubled in 3 months. That's the power of emotional resonance. Chapter 7: Trust, the Invisible Thread. Every negotiation, every friendship, every sale rests on a single invisible thread: trust. Without it, logic collapses. With it, even disagreement becomes productive. People decide whether to trust you within seconds, not by your resume but by your consistency of presence. Their nervous system is scanning. Are you safe? Are you real? 3 elements create that instant sense of safety. Congruence, when your words, tone, and body all tell the same story. If you say, I'm confident, while your eyes dart away, the nervous system registers the mismatch. Warmth, not charm, but genuine regard. A slight smile, open palms, the feeling that you wish them well. Competence, clarity, and follow-through. You don't have to know everything, you only have to keep the promises you make. Think of a time you hired someone. You didn't choose the flashiest person, you chose the one who felt both reliable and sincere. That combination is magnetic. To build trust in any negotiation, slow down at the beginning. Ask a few personal questions. A minute of human connection does more than an hour of persuasion. The brain releases oxytocin, the bonding chemical, when we sense care. Only then do facts land. Trust is earned in droplets and lost in buckets. Guard it like your most valuable asset. Chapter 8: The Science of Stories. Facts inform, but stories transform. Our brains are narrative machines. They look for meaning through sequence and emotion. When you tell a story, you invite someone into your world and their brain lights up as if they are living it. Functional MRI scans show that during storytelling, both speaker and listener's neural patterns synchronize in the language and emotion centers. That's why a good story bypasses skepticism. Use this in negotiation ethically. When presenting an idea, wrap it in a brief narrative. A client faced the same challenge last year, and here's what happened when we tried this solution. When explaining value, turn numbers into impact. That extra 10% efficiency means 2 more days with your family each month. Stories turn abstract value into felt reality. But there's an even deeper use of story: identity framing. People act according to the story they believe about themselves. If you align your proposal with their self-story, resistance melts. For example, instead of saying, we need to cut costs, say, you've always been the kind of leader who finds smart ways to make the team sustainable. Here's an option that fits that strength. You've connected the request to their self-concept. They're not being persuaded, they're being confirmed. The goal isn't manipulation, it's resonance. You're showing them the hero they already are in a new chapter that includes you. Chapter 9: When Words Fail, the Power of Silence. Silence is the most underestimated tool in communication. Most people fear it, rush to fill it, or interpret it as disapproval. But to a skilled negotiator, silence is space, and space invites truth. After you make an offer or ask a key question, pause, let the quiet do the work. The other person's mind starts processing. And because the human brain dislikes unfinished patterns, they will often fill the silence with valuable information. In one study of corporate negotiations, professionals who used deliberate pauses after proposals achieved 42% higher value on average than those who didn't. The pause created psychological weight. This matters. Silence also communicates composure. It says, "I'm comfortable enough to wait." That steadiness shifts status subtly in your favor. At home, silence can be healing too. When someone you love vents, they don't need quick fixes, they need presence. Let the words land, breathe, and then respond softly. Silence isn't emptiness, it's attention made visible. Try this in your next conversation. After someone finishes speaking, count to 3 before replying. You'll be amazed how much more people reveal when given permission to fill the quiet. Chapter 10: The Psychology of Perspective. Influence depends on perspective. The more angles you can see, the more creative your solutions become. In negotiation, this skill is called cognitive empathy, the ability to step into another person's mental model without abandoning your own. Think of 2 people looking at the same sculpture from different sides. One sees light, the other shadow, both are right. When you insist that your view is the only truth, conversation collapses. When you climb around to their side for a moment, tension eases. To build cognitive empathy, ask questions that open their map of reality. What led you to that conclusion? What would success look like from your perspective? What challenges would you face if we did it my way? You're not surrendering control, you're gathering data. As they explain, their brain's reward system lights up. People love to be understood. Once they feel heard, they are far more willing to explore your side. Perspective taking also interrupts bias. Research from the University of Chicago found that negotiators who practiced mental role reversal reached mutually beneficial outcomes 68% more often than those who didn't. Empathy expands imagination. So next time you feel friction, step sideways in your mind. Ask yourself, if I were them, what would this look like? What fear or hope might be hiding underneath? That small act turns confrontation into collaboration. Chapter 11: Emotional Temperature and Timing. Great negotiators don't just read words, they read temperature, the emotional climate of the moment. Every meeting, every conversation carries weather. Sometimes it's bright and open, sometimes thunder is building. Your job is to sense the pressure before lightning strikes. Notice micro shifts: the sigh that lingers, the jaw tightening, the phone glance. Those are gusts of wind before a storm. If you keep pushing logic while emotions are rising, the brain's limbic system hijacks reason. Instead, acknowledge the change. I'm sensing this topic feels tense right now, maybe we pause for a second. That line alone lowers cortisol levels. It tells the other person you're attuned, not adversarial. Timing is the second half of emotional temperature. A brilliant point delivered at the wrong moment is wasted. Patience, not persuasion, closes deals. Think of conversation as surfing. You can't control the wave, only catch it. When energy spikes, anger, excitement, fear, ride it briefly, validate it, and wait for the calm swell to return. That's when insight lands. In relationships, this matters too. If your partner comes home drained, that's not the time to discuss vacation budgets. Wait until the emotional tide turns toward connection. Psychologists call this affect attunement, matching your timing to another's emotional bandwidth. The payoff is enormous. Trust deepens because people feel you get me, you're safe. Every word we say either heats or cools a conversation. Your awareness is the thermostat. Chapter 12: Influence with Integrity. All the techniques in the world, mirroring, timing, storytelling, mean nothing without integrity. Influence built on deceit is a house on sand. It may stand for a season, but it always collapses. The goal of negotiation is not domination, it is alignment. Integrity begins where fear ends. When you no longer need to win to feel worthy, you can focus on truth. Truth carries its own quiet power. It steadies your tone, sharpens your thinking, and allows you to disagree without hostility. Ask yourself before any persuasive moment: is what I'm offering genuinely beneficial to both sides? Am I saying it because it's true or because I want control? Would I feel proud if this conversation were recorded and replayed tomorrow? If you can answer yes, your influence is clean. And clean influence lasts. Integrity also means owning mistakes fast. When you misjudge or overpromise, correct it publicly. People respect humility more than perfection. Apology restores credibility faster than denial ever could. True influence is transparent. It hides nothing, manipulates nothing, pressures no one. It stands on clarity, fairness, and mutual gain. Closing reflection, the empathic edge. We've covered the heart of human psychology, mirroring, values, emotion, and timing. Now let's step back and see the larger truth. Negotiation is not about getting more, it's about creating more. When two minds meet with empathy, both expand. The best negotiators are healers of misunderstanding. They transform tension into trust, noise into clarity, conflict into creative energy. Remember these principles. Listen beneath the surface. Words are data, emotion is the code. Match, don't mimic. Mirroring is empathy in motion, not imitation. Watch the body, it whispers what words conceal. Meet needs, not demands. Values drive behavior. Regulate temperature, calm spreads faster than panic. Anchor in integrity, influence without ethics corrodes character. Every time you practice them, your awareness sharpens. You begin to see patterns others miss, the tension before it breaks, the opportunity hidden inside resistance. And you start to guide conversations like a conductor guides music, not forcing, just directing flow. In your next negotiation, whether for salary, partnership, or peace at home, pause and remember. My power is my presence. From that presence comes clarity, from clarity, empathy, and from empathy, results.
Transition to Part 3. You now hold the keys to reading people with accuracy and compassion. Next, we'll step into Part 3, turning conversations into collaboration. How to use these insights to design win-win outcomes, craft persuasive frameworks, and move from understanding to agreement. Because awareness alone is insight, application is mastery. Part 3, turning conversations into collaboration. From understanding to agreement. Up to now, you've built the inner calm of a negotiator and the perception of a psychologist. Now comes the craft of movement, how to turn insight into progress, how to guide a conversation towards solutions that serve everyone involved. True collaboration doesn't mean compromise in the shallow sense of each gives a little and no one's happy. It means designing outcomes that expand possibility. The best negotiators are architects of shared success. Chapter 1, from positions to interests. Most conflicts stall because people argue positions, the visible tip of the iceberg. I need a 10% raise. We can't afford more than 5. Beneath those numbers lie interests, security, recognition, fairness, sustainability. The classic Harvard framework from getting to yes teaches, separate positions from interests. Ask, what does that request accomplish for you? When you uncover the interest, options multiply. Maybe the employee doesn't only want more money, but wants growth. Training funds or flexible time could satisfy the same value. Maybe management fears setting a precedent. A performance-based clause preserves fairness. Interests are the roots, positions are the leaves. Negotiate the roots, and the branches align themselves. A story, 2 sisters fight over an orange. Each insists, I need the whole thing. Their mother, curious, asks why. One wants the peel for baking, the other the juice for drinking. Both walk away happy. That is the essence of interest-based negotiation. To practice, state your position clearly. Ask the other to share theirs. Then ask why twice. By the second why, truth appears. Chapter 2, designing the win-win frame. Once interests are visible, you can design a frame, a shared context that defines success for both sides. Framing changes perception, perception changes behavior. Imagine 2 engineers debating project deadlines. Instead of who's right, a skilled leader reframes, How can we deliver quality on time without burnout? Suddenly, they're allies against a common problem, not opponents defending pride. A good frame has 3 traits. Shared goal, a we statement everyone can endorse. We both want this partnership to feel fair and sustainable. Positive direction, focus on what you want to create, not what to avoid. Let's explore possibilities beats, let's stop arguing. Future orientation, shift attention from blame to design. The past can inform, but only the future can unite. Neurologically, reframing activates the brain's prefrontal cortex, the center of creativity and planning, pulling energy away from the amygdala's fight-or-flight loop. When you hear tension rising, step back and redraw the frame. It's like adjusting a camera lens. Clarity returns instantly. Chapter 3: The Anchor and the Ladder. Every discussion begins somewhere. Whoever names the first number sets the anchor. Anchoring is one of the most studied effects in behavioral economics. When an initial figure, idea, or expectation is placed in the air, every later judgment gravitates toward it, even when people know the anchor is arbitrary. In negotiation, this means the first offer creates a gravitational field. State it confidently and rationally, and you define the center of gravity. A study from MIT found that buyers who heard a higher opening price on identical products valued those items 30% higher, even after they said they were bargaining hard. The mind can't unhear a number. But anchoring is not just about numbers, it's about tone. The first emotional cue you set becomes the ladder everyone climbs. Begin defensive, and the conversation stays low. Begin calm, curious, and optimistic, and you raise the altitude. How to anchor with integrity. Prepare the rationale. Never drop a number without a story. Based on the additional responsibilities I've taken, a salary around $85,000 feels aligned with market value. Stay open. Anchors invite dialogue, not entrenchment. I'm open to hearing what range you had in mind. Mirror anchors gracefully. If the other side opens first, don't react. Pause, breathe, and ask, how did you arrive at that figure? You shift attention from the number to the reasoning. Anchoring works because humans crave reference points. When you supply them consciously, you guide judgment without coercion. Chapter 4: The Currency of Concessions. Negotiation is a dance of give and take, but how you give determines what you keep. Concessions are inevitable, losing value is not. The golden rule: never give something away, always trade it. If you must reduce your price, add a condition. I can adjust the rate if we extend the contract to 6 months. You're teaching reciprocity. People respect what costs them something. In 1975, psychologist Robert Cialdini tested the door-in-the-face effect. When someone rejects a large request and is then offered a smaller one, compliance triples. Why? Because making a concession signals goodwill. The brain wants to reciprocate. Use this ethically. You can model fairness by being the first to flex, but make the exchange explicit so goodwill is mutual. Steps to concession strategy. Plan them in advance. Know what you can trade and what's sacred. Make each concession visible. If you move silently, people assume it was easy. State it. To meet your deadline, I'm shifting another project. Let's make sure that effort brings value to both of us. Decrease the size of each step. Large, then smaller, then tiny moves signal the limit approaching. Behavioral economists call this diminishing concessions, a silent indicator that you're near the edge. Recap the balance sheet. Before closing, summarize. We both adjusted, here what we gained. It locks fairness into memory. Concessions done well build relationship equity. They prove you're cooperative, not desperate. Chapter 5: The Language of Agreement. Words can harden resistance or melt it. Certain phrases prime the brain for conflict. Others open its gates. Mastering linguistic rhythm is like learning emotional aikido, redirecting energy with grace. The yes set. Start with small, truthful statements that the other person naturally agrees with. We both want this project to succeed. We've already put a lot of time into it. Finding something sustainable would benefit everyone. Each yes lowers defenses. 3 small agreements prepare the mind for a 4th, your proposal. This is known as the consistency principle. Once people publicly agree to something, they prefer to stay aligned with that pattern. Framing with what and how. Questions beginning with why can sound accusatory. Why did you choose that timeline? Implies judgment. Replace it with what or how. What made that timeline feel right? How can we make the schedule work for both teams? These invite collaboration instead of defense. The magic of and. Swap the word but for and. I agree with your point but negates everything before the comma. I agree with your point and blends perspectives. This tiny change softens friction more effectively than most people realize. Story plus statistic. Pair emotion with evidence. Our turnover dropped 18% after we improved flexibility. People feel trusted again. Emotion catches attention. Data confirms truth. Together, they form logic with a heartbeat. Language is architecture. Choose bricks that build bridges, not walls. Chapter 6, Closing the Loop, How Agreements Stick. Getting a yes is easy. Keeping it honored is leadership. Clarify, then confirm. When energy peaks and everyone's smiling, precision often slips away. Slow the pace deliberately. Summarize. Let's review what we've decided so we're sure we captured it right. List concrete actions, owners, and dates. The act of repeating cements memory. People commit more fully to words they've heard twice. Put it in writing kindly. Documentation isn't distrust, it's respect for clarity. Send a brief recap that begins with gratitude. Thanks for a productive discussion today. Here, how I understood our plan. Politeness keeps formality from feeling cold. Celebrate the mutual win. End every deal with acknowledgement. I appreciate how flexible you were. This feels balanced. Dopamine rises when effort is recognized. That positive association attaches to working with you again. Review and adapt. No agreement is final. Every situation evolves. Schedule check-ins. Let's revisit this in a month to be sure it's still serving both of us. You're demonstrating partnership rather than transaction. People remember how a negotiation made them feel long after they forget the numbers. Leave them feeling competent, respected, and optimistic, and they'll choose you next time almost automatically. Chapter 7, Handling Conflict with Grace. No matter how skillful you become, tension will still appear. Conflict isn't failure, it's friction that sharpens understanding. The question isn't how do I avoid conflict, but how do I hold it well? The pause. When voices rise, pause, not to withdraw but to reset. A single breath regulates adrenaline. Say quietly, let's slow down so we can really hear each other. This small line reframes heat as teamwork. Name the emotion. Unspoken emotion drives escalation. Numbing it releases pressure. It sounds like we're both frustrated because this matters. Labeling feelings doesn't inflame them, it cools them. Neuroscientists call this effect labeling. Words tame the amygdala. Separate people from the problem. Attack the issue, never the identity. Your careless creates defense. The timeline slipped, how can we prevent that? Creates focus. Keep dignity intact, and collaboration revives. When you're wrong, own it fast. You're right, I missed that detail. Paradoxically, conceding small truths increases overall credibility. People relax when they see humility because it signals safety. Conflict well handled strengthens bonds. Two swords properly clashed become sharper. Chapter 8. NEGOTIATNG with difficult PERSONALITIS. Some people thrive on control, others on drama, some on perpetual doubt. Understanding patterns protects your energy and keeps the conversation productive. The dominator. They interrupt, posture, and test boundaries. Do not compete for volume, compete for calm. Lower your tone, slow your pace, and anchor facts. Complement strength. You're decisive, that's helpful. Let's channel that into the solution. Acknowledgement redirects aggression. The victim. Everything happens to them. They seek sympathy more than resolution. Empathize once, then pivot. I hear it's been tough. What part do you feel you can influence right now? You return power without feeding helplessness. The pleaser. They agree quickly, then vanish. Replace general promises with specifics. That sounds great. Let's choose a concrete next step so it's easy to follow through. Pleasers fear disappointment. Clarity feels like kindness. The skeptic. They distrust motives and data. Meet doubt with transparency. Share sources, invite verification. Hear where that figure comes from. Does it align with what you've seen? Inclusion turns suspicion into participation. Remember, difficult behaviors are usually fear wearing armor. When you treat the fear, not the armor, resistance softens. The calm negotiator becomes the mirror that shows people their better selves. Chapter 9. NEGOTIATNG Home. The habits that build trust at work also sustain love at home. Partnership, parenting, friendship all require daily micro-negotiations. Who takes the late shift, how money is spent, what rest looks like. Listen first, fix later. Most arguments between loved ones aren't about the stated topic. They're about recognition. Instead of replying with logic, start with empathy. You're exhausted and want to feel supported. Did I get that right? When people feel heard, the limbic system settles. Only then can logic enter. Fair doesn't mean equal. Equality is arithmetic. Fairness is context. Maybe one partner earns more while the other invests more time in family care. The exchange rate is emotional, not numeric. Ask what feels fair to you and let answers evolve. Turn complaints into requests. I'm tired of you working late becomes, I miss you. Can we protect one evening together? A request invites collaboration. A complaint invites defense. Practice repair. After conflict, small gestures of goodwill rebuild safety. A note, a touch, laughter. Negotiation in love is less about winning and more about remembering the we beneath the me. Chapter 10. NEGOTIATNG with yourself. Every outer dialogue mirrors an inner one. The hardest person to persuade is the self that doubts, delays, or clings to comfort. The inner table. Imagine a meeting inside you. One voice wants safety, another growth, another rest. None are enemies, all seek belonging. Negotiation means listening to each without letting fear chair the meeting. Ask, what does this fear protect? What does this desire promise? What small step honors both? Growth happens through integration, not suppression. Self-respect as policy. If you habitually say yes when you mean no, you train others to undervalue you. Each boundary kept deposits confidence in the bank of self-trust. Speak to yourself as you would a valued partner, firm, kind, consistent. Celebrate your own fairness. When you choose rest without guilt or speak truth without aggression, you model the very balance you seek in others. The master negotiator is simply a human who has made peace with herself. Closing reflection, the bridge builder. Collaboration is an art of building bridges where walls once stood. You now understand the full arc, From calm inner foundation, through reading emotion, to crafting agreements that endure. Remember these closing truths. Every conversation is a chance to create safety. People listen best when they feel secure. Curiosity transforms resistance. Questions open doors pride would keep shut. Integrity scales influence. The more people trust your fairness, the more freedom you gain. Empathy is efficiency. Understanding saves hours of argument. Self-negotiation precedes all others. Inner peace radiates outward. When you walk into your next discussion, boardroom or kitchen, carry this presence. Steady breath, open heart, quiet certainty. You are not there to conquer, you are there to connect. And connection, more than cleverness, changes outcomes and lives. Transition to part 4. In the final part, we'll look at mastering influence in the real world, how to sustain trust over time, navigate high-stakes situations, and lead others through complexity with clarity and calm. Because every great negotiator eventually becomes something more, a peacemaker with purpose. Part 4. Mastering influence in the real world. How to lead, inspire, and create lasting trust. You've built calm presence, learned to read emotion, and turned conversations into collaboration. Now it's time to take these abilities into the larger world, where stakes rise, pressure mounts, and leadership begins. Influence at this level is no longer about getting agreement. It's about sustaining alignment. It's the art of guiding people through uncertainty without losing integrity or empathy. Chapter 1. The energy of leadership. Leadership is negotiation at scale. Every decision asks, can I bring people with me willingly? Authority versus influence. Authority demands, influence invites. Authority says, because I said so. Influence says, because this makes sense. The latter outlasts titles, because it's powered by respect, not fear. The chemistry of inspiration. When people feel trusted, their brains release dopamine and oxytocin, motivation and bonding chemicals. When they feel controlled, cortisol floods instead, narrowing vision. Your job as a leader, negotiator, is to create the biochemical conditions for clarity and creativity. Practical ways to do it. Model calm, nervous systems sync, your steadiness becomes their permission slip. Show vision in pictures. Describe outcomes so vividly people can see themselves inside them. Share credit generously. Recognition feeds loyalty faster than reward. From pressure to presence. In high-stakes meetings, pressure is contagious. Presence is too. Before entering, ground yourself. Breathe, feel your feet, set intention. I'm here to create understanding. Presence quiets performance anxiety and makes space for insight to surface. Chapter 2. COLTIVATING credibility and trust over time. A single conversation can win a deal. Only consistency wins a reputation. The trust equation. Trust equals credibility plus reliability plus intimacy / self-orientation. This formula, coined by Charles Green, reminds us that lowering self-orientation, ego, agenda, defensiveness, multiplies every other quality. Credibility comes from competence and honesty. Reliability comes from showing up exactly when you said you would. Intimacy means emotional safety. People can tell you hard truths without punishment. Building a track record. Small follow-throughs accumulate into massive influence. Send the recap, keep the boundary, return the call. The human brain builds trust through pattern recognition. Each kept promise reinforces the pattern safe equals you. Transparency as strategy. Hiding uncertainty erodes credibility faster than admitting it. Say, I don't have that answer yet, but I'll find out by Friday. You've just turned vulnerability into professionalism. Repairing trust. When missteps happen, and they will, address them quickly. Name the error. Acknowledge the impact. Offer remedy and timeline. Follow through publicly. Apology without action is performance. Repair backed by behavior is rebirth. Chapter 3. NEGOTIATING and high-stakes MOTIVATIONS. When the lights are bright and the outcome feels life-changing, technique alone isn't enough. High-stakes negotiation is 90% nervous system regulation and 10% language. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. In pressure situations, speed feels like power, but slowness creates it. Take one deliberate breath before answering any critical question. That pause lowers your pulse, widens perspective, and makes you sound thoughtful rather than uncertain. Preparation as containment. Before the meeting, rehearse 3 pillars only. Your objective, the one non-negotiable. Their objective, what they need to save face or succeed. Your fallback, the floor that still feels fair. Everything else is noise. When the conversation drifts, return to the pillars. You'll be amazed how calm logic sounds when the other side is drowning in adrenaline. Pressure as mirror. People reveal their truest selves under stress. Observe, don't absorb. If someone grows louder, remind yourself, they're showing me their fear, not my failure. Respond to the fear, not the volume. The calm close. When intensity peaks, lower your tone and volume by half. Whispered certainty cuts through chaos. Say, here, what I propose so we can both move forward. Offer one clear path. The brain craves resolution. Simplicity ends stalemate. Chapter 4. Culture, Context, and Global Intelligence. Negotiation is not universal grammar, it's dialect. Every culture carries hidden rules about time, hierarchy, and truth. Master negotiators translate before they persuade. Time orientation. In some cultures, Germany, Japan, Switzerland, time equals respect. Being 5 minutes late damages credibility. In others, Latin America, South Asia, relationship trumps the clock. The meeting begins when trust arrives, not when the hour strikes. Before any international or cross-department conversation, learn which world you're in, clock-based or relationship-based. Adjust pace accordingly. Hierarchy and face. Western negotiators often prize equality. Eastern or collective societies prize harmony. Open disagreement may feel rude to them. Use indirect phrasing. Some colleagues might see this differently. How could we include their view? You've questioned without confrontation. Direct versus indirect truth. Anglo cultures reward candor. Others protect dignity through subtlety. If feedback feels vague, listen for tone rather than words. Maybe can mean no, and silence can mean, let me save you from embarrassment. Curiosity as passport. Instead of assuming universality, practice cultural humility. Ask, how is this kind of decision usually handled in your organization? They'll teach you the rhythm. Curiosity communicates respect faster than fluent grammar. The global mindset. Blend assertiveness with adaptability. Hold values firmly, hold methods lightly. The goal is connection across difference, a skill the modern world rewards more than ever. Chapter 5. Leading through change. Change is a constant negotiation. Every shift, new policy, new product, new season of life, requires buy-in from minds that fear uncertainty. The psychology of transition. William Bridges, model of transition, reminds us that people don't resist change itself, they resist loss. Every ending of familiarity, control, or identity activates grief. A skilled leader names that grief before demanding adaptation. Say, I know this adjustment means giving up a rhythm that worked. Let's talk about what we'll miss and what we might gain. Recognition converts loss into learning. Vision and small steps. When uncertainty looms, the brain narrows focus to immediate safety. Give people one clear next step. For now, let's pilot this for 2 weeks and review results. Micro-commitments restore agency. Success in small steps builds belief for larger ones. The trust sandwich. Begin with reassurance. We've done hard things before. State the reality honestly. Resources are tight. End with inclusion. Here, how we'll tackle it together. Truth without hope feels heavy. Hope without truth feels hollow. The blend creates resolve. Your own adaptability. Leadership under change means living what you teach. Model learning in public. I'm still figuring this out too. Vulnerability from power invites courage from everyone else. Chapter 6. Crisis Negotiation, the art of calm in chaos. When everything burns, deadline missed, market crashing, family emergency, the world looks for a calm voice. You can be that voice. Grounding in the storm. Start with breath. Inhale 4 counts, exhale 6. Longer exhale signals safety to the body. Only a regulated body can regulate a room. Define the controllable. List 2 columns, what I can influence and what I can't. Speak only from the first column. Energy spent on the uncontrollable becomes panic. Energy spent on the controllable becomes plan. Slow the clock. Under crisis, time perception shrinks. People rush rashly. Say aloud, let's take 5 minutes to think. Those 5 minutes might save 5 months. Use clear, concrete language. Ambiguity fuels fear. Instead of "we'll be fine," say "here, what we're doing in the next hour." Specificity replaces anxiety with action. Emotional containment. When others spiral, don't match intensity, mirror structure. You're worried we'll lose the client. Let's walk through worst case and best case. Naming extremes shrinks them to size. Debrief after the storm. When calm returns, review not just results but reactions. What worked, what cracked, what was learned. Crisis handled well becomes culture's strongest story. We faced the fire and grew stronger together. Chapter 7. The influence of story and symbol. Humans don't rally around spreadsheets. We rally around stories. Every movement, every brand, every family tradition began as a narrative powerful enough to outlive a moment. Crafting the guiding story. A leader's story answers 3 questions. Where have we been? Honors effort and history. Where are we now? Names reality honestly. Where are we going? Paints possibility. When you narrate change through that arc, you give emotion a map. People stop clinging to the past because you've woven it into the journey forward. Symbols as shortcuts to meaning. Logos, rituals, repeated phrases. These compress complex values into memory. A team that begins meetings with one grounding breath reinforces calm. A family that lights a candle at dinner reinforces togetherness. Symbol becomes ceremony. Ceremony becomes shared identity. Repetition with freshness. Great communicators repeat the vision until it becomes oxygen, but they vary the tone so it still feels alive. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't say "I have a plan." He said "I have a dream," again and again, each time slightly different, each time new. Repetition embeds belief. Nuance keeps it breathing. Authentic myth-making. Tell stories not to glorify yourself, but to highlight shared values. Replace "I succeeded because" with "we discovered that when we." Your audience becomes co-authors of the myth. That's how loyalty is born. Chapter 8. Influence through service. The highest form of persuasion is service. People follow those who make their lives better without demanding applause. The servant leader mindset. Ask daily, who is affected by my decisions and how can I lighten their load? Service doesn't mean self-sacrifice. It means stewardship, caring for results and people equally. Robert Greenleaf coined the term servant leadership in the 1970s, yet its wisdom is ancient. When leaders serve first, Teams mirror that care outward to clients, communities, families. Compassion scales. Listening as gift. In a distracted world, undivided attention feels revolutionary. To truly serve, listen for what people aren't saying. Fatigue, discouragement, lost spark. Ask, what would make your work feel easier right now? What support haven't we provided yet? Every honest answer is an opportunity to lead better. The ripple effect. Service multiplies influence quietly. A kind manager produces confident employees who treat customers kindly. A calm parent raises a child who calms classrooms. Influence becomes ecosystem. Guarding the well. To serve sustainably, protect your own capacity. Rest, delegate, set boundaries. An empty well waters no one. Self-care is not indulgence, it's infrastructure. When people experience you as both strong and generous, they trust your guidance instinctively. That trust is the ultimate return on service. Chapter 9. Sustaining RELATIONSHIPS beyond the deal. The close of a contract or conversation isn't the end of negotiation. It's the beginning of a relationship. Influence that endures must evolve. Follow through as signal. Within 24 hours of any agreement, send a short recap of commitments. Gratitude plus clarity equals trust. I appreciate our talk today. Here, what I captured, please correct anything I missed. That one message separates professionals from opportunists. Maintenance moments. Schedule small, informal check-ins. Not do you need anything, but how is this working for you so far? Feedback offered before frustration becomes loyalty instead of loss. The gift of memory. Remember details, birthdays, milestones, the name of a colleague's child. Recognition says, you matter beyond utility. People stay where they feel seen. Evolving agreements. Circumstances shift, fairness shifts with them. Invite renegotiation proactively. It's been 6 months, want to review and adjust. You model maturity instead of clinging to outdated terms. Long-term influence depends less on brilliance and more on stewardship, the quiet tending of connection after the spotlight fades. Chapter 10. The Legacy of Influence. What endures when the meetings end? Reputation. Not the brand on paper, the emotional echo you leave in people's nervous systems. The ripple legacy. Every calm conversation becomes a template in someone else's mind. They remember how you handled pressure, and they copy it with their team, their children, their community. That's how one person's steadiness becomes culture. Teaching through example. Mentor not by lecture, but by transparency. Let others watch you negotiate fairly. Explain the why behind decisions so skill becomes transferable. Paying forward respect. When you've reached influence, use it to amplify quieter voices. Invite the intern to speak first. Credit the source of every good idea. Inclusion multiplies authority rather than diluting it. Measuring success differently. At the end of a career or a lifetime, the real metric isn't deals closed but relationships still open. Ask yourself, who would choose to work with me again? That answer is legacy. Closing reflection, the calm revolution. Negotiation began as a survival skill. It can end as a peace practice. Every time you choose empathy over ego, you tilt the world a little toward sanity. Remember the arc you've walked. Foundation, mastering your own state. Perception, reading emotion and motive. Collaboration, creating win-win outcomes. Influence, sustaining trust and leading with integrity. You now hold the full circle, the inner calm of self-trust, the outer skill of understanding, and the long view of stewardship. Carry these into every room. Speak less, notice more, breathe deeper. Lead not by control, but by clarity. because the rarest power left in the world is presence, and the world listens to those who have it. End of the audiobook.